is an exclusive presentation of high school sports on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. This is the High School Coaches Show. Here's your host, Justin Kenny.
Welcome in, everyone, to the High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kenny. John Graham here producing till 7 o'clock, talking area high school basketball, and a lot to talk about. It's semi-state weekend in girls basketball coming up here on Saturday. We're going to break it down as only we can here. Just in a couple minutes, we'll be joined by Coach Eric Thornton of the Norwell Knights. Join us in just a little bit. Coach Mark Redding, Carroll Chargers, will join us around 6:45. We'll also talk to Chris Kohrman of Homestead Media and WCYT at about 6:15. He will help us break down that big boys matchup coming up tomorrow that you can hear right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Homestead and Carroll winner wins the SAC regular season championship. So a lot to get to. And let's kick it off. Let's talk some Final Four basketballs. We're down to the Final Four teams in each respective class in the state of Indiana on the girls basketball side. Two of those teams, Norwell and Carroll. The head coach of the Norwell Knights is Coach Eric Thornton. Joins us right now. Coach, how are you?
Justin, I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, we're living the dream. A little snowy, but other than that, we're upright, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach. And you guys got quite the haul, and hopefully the roads are reasonably clear on Saturday. Heading to LaPorte, you'll take on South Bend, Washington, in a noon tip-off. Our time, which will be an 11 a.m. Central Time tip-off with LaPorte on a Central Time zone. So, Coach, before we talk about your challenge coming up on Saturday, let's look back at the regional Saturday in which you guys earned a couple of wins, avenged that loss to Benton Central in the nightcap. But Angola, despite that final score, really challenged you in that semifinal.
Angola had been playing their best basketball of the season. New coach and a loss of a strong senior group the year before. And it took them a little while, but, when you could see them by midseason through the tournament time, they were playing as well as anybody was in Northeast Indiana. It was a really, really tough game for us, and we were fortunate to win that.
I always ask coaches, and I always get different responses. That regional Saturday is so unique because you're preparing for effectively three different teams. Your semifinal opponent, then whoever wins that second semifinal. So how did you guys approach it? It had to help maybe just a little bit that you were familiar with Benton Central from a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody plays a different style, and having been at it a year ago, getting to that night game, as you mentioned, against Benton Central, it was tough to get back to that level, but we knew if we could do that we were close enough a year ago, and that we felt like we had that tournament experience at that level of the tournament. When you go back to the Hall of Fame experience that we had, two grueling games against really good 4A teams down at Newcastle. I think even though that was a painful gift, I think it really helps you when you get back to that. You can draw from that and just know that it requires a lot of toughness, both physically and mentally, to be able to move on to the next game quickly.
Yeah, how big of a benefit was that Hall of Fame tournament? Because not often you get to play twice in a day. Even in tournaments, it's usually just once a day. I know in the summer you play multiple games in one day, but I feel it's completely different in the regular season. So despite the losses to Mount Vernon and Fishers, how did that benefit you now in February? Yeah,
you just have to move forward quickly. Even though we lost that morning game against Mount Vernon, you're still fighting for something in the evening game, and you just flip your attention to a totally different situation, and it's kind of fun in a way. You get to erase the taste of that loss quickly. You move on to the next game, and you have to play at a really high level. I thought that our kids fought as hard as they fought against that Fishers team in the night game. We were down 17 or 18. We cut it down to 3 or 4 late in the game and just didn't have quite enough time. I think you come out of that understanding that you can play with, you can play with a top 5, top 10 team in the state. Then when you get into the tournament, you really feel like your kids have what it takes.
Coach, every coach, at the end of January wants to say we want to be playing our best basketball going into February on the girls' basketball side. And you guys had back-to-back losses to conclude the regular season at Jay County and Bishop Luers. That Bishop Luers team just so happened to be your first opponent in the sectional. So did you like the way your girls played at the end of the season, or were you a little concerned there heading into sectional week?
I did up until the Monday, Tuesday losses. We played the Friday, Saturday before. We had a double conference weekend, Friday at home against New Haven, Saturday at East Noble to clinch the conference. And then you roll right into road games, a road game at a really, really good Jay County, a team that was playing, again, really good basketball. Lose a close one there, and then we came back Tuesday. We didn't have school that day, which I thought it would be good, and we just had nothing, Justin. We had nothing in the tank. We had no legs. We had no spirit, no energy. I was concerned, but yet I knew that we just needed to hit the pause button. We took the next day off because of my assistants being smarter than me. I was ready to get back in the gym on Wednesday, and they said, no, we can't do that. Kids need a day, and they were right. And we came back after a day off, and kids came back recharged. They were ready to go. Kids were positive, and we just got back to some basics defensively. Simple stuff, good closeouts, keep the ball in front of us, let's get good gap help, let's just be tough. And we've really kind of hung our hat on that ever since.
Coach Eric Thornton, Norwell Knights, joining us here. His team will take on South Bend, Washington at noon on Saturday in the LaPorte Semi-State. Coach, I look at this group of girls, and you have that core senior group with Maya and Kaylee and Lauren, and those girls have been around, and I feel like, man, this is a great chance for them. First 2 years, first round exits and sectionals. You get to the regional final last year, and then being able to get over that hump against Benton Central this year, you have to feel good about for those girls, but also the younger group of girls that's also facilitating them. It's a good mix of veteran experience and some youth as well.
Yeah, I think that's something we tried to sustain over the years. Even though you might lose a tremendous group like the senior group, we had that about 5 or 6 years ago with the team went to the 2014 semi-state. They were sophomores, and they didn't really know any better, that group at that time. But then this senior group, you just knew from an early age that they just competed so hard, and they would do anything to win. They just found ways to do that. And they've continued to do that, at the high school level. The great thing about the mix that you mentioned is it's not just all about the seniors. Mackenzie Tolliver has had a pretty historical season from the three-point line, and she's such a smart basketball player, one of the highest IQ players I probably have coached during my time at Norwell. You throw in Skyla Tomasek, who's a sophomore post player who is third in efficiency on our team. She doesn't take a lot of shots, but she does a lot of other things very well that helps us win. And then you bring a kid like Kennedy Filling off the bench, who has just kind of had, I kind of don't know any better type of attitude where she can just go out and play and not have any pressure on her. And another junior in Emily Todd that has done a tremendous job for us this season. And that mix right there has really found a way to have their own personality, find their own identity. And again, whether they're up or down, they never feel like they're out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioned Skyla Tomasek because I was going to ask you about her. In the first game last Saturday against Angola, she seemed to just wasn't, you'd look at the box score after the game and you didn't feel she had a big game, but the intangibles in the post, really being able to be that big body, getting some key rebounds, with the way Hannah Knoll likes to penetrate and attack that she was so good against Garrett in that sectional championship doing, you had Skyla in there to really disrupt that. So that is a player that, even last week when I'm watching that game against Angola, you really saw just how big of an asset she is.
Yeah, Skyla helps us win. She does a good job with that. She doesn't get near the attention she probably deserves. And again, when you look at our stats, our cumulative stats, there she is, third in efficiency behind Shelton and Filling. And I don't think many people would guess that, but you look all the little things that she does that don't get a lot of publicity, like putting the ball in the basket. She can do that from time to time, but with blocks and deflections and rebounds and assists and steals, she's right up there in stats on our team. And we need kids like that play their roles really well. They accept them, and they appreciate playing those roles.
Coach, your foe coming up on Saturday, South Bend, Washington, and looking at them, the first thing that jumped out to me was their defensive efficiency, allowing just over 37 points per game. You guys are comfortable playing in those 30s and 40-point ranges, but just what kind of challenges have you seen on film that the Panthers will present for you with their defense?
Yeah, they play. They play with their length. They're very well coached, and they use that length very well to their advantage to get a lot of deflections. They're a good rebounding team, which translates into being excellent in transition. You really have to be tight with the ball. If you get a little sloppy with it, they're going to get a deflection or a steal, and then it's a run out, and we really can't defend those types of things. Obviously, we've got to have quality possessions against their length. We feel like we can move the basketball against their length. We've played some similar teams that play that style, and at this point of the season, you've probably seen it all, and it's a matter of us just believing and executing, and then ultimately we have to hit some shots.
Yeah, the always intangible, right? The always the unknown. Can you hit some shots? No matter how much game planning, Coach, and 389 wins over your career, eventually it just comes down to making shots, right?
I think so, and I think you can't be frozen by the stage. First of all, at that stage of the tournament, it's pretty unique. It's unique for our group this year, that's for sure. And we need to continue to be ourselves, and we've talked to our kids all week. We're okay with quick shots against them. It's got to be a good quick shot. It can't be a bad shot, and it just puts our defense in a bad spot. And we're not a great rebounding team, and that's a concern of mine too. That if we're not taking the shots that we need, that we're not going to be favorable. We don't need to win the rebounding battle, but we need to be close, and I think that helps us on the scoreboard. So, for us, we've got to continue to play like we have all year, with play without fear of what their end result's going to be. Our kids have got to play loose, and if we can play like we have been playing offensively, where everything's in the flow and we're sharing the ball, and when we get the shot we want, let's take it. And that's all we can ask of our kids, and we'll have a lot of belief in their ability to do that.
Coach, a couple of the weapons that South Bend, Washington has. Mila Reynolds, who averages close to a double-double. She's a 6'2" junior. She'll be a challenge around the basket. And then Amaya Reynolds, who is just a sophomore, but leads the team in assists. She leads them in steals. She scores at a 10-point-per-game clip. Also a pretty good rebounder as well. Two big players that can play big roles in this game, and two almost completely different players. One really a scrappy type player on the perimeter that can go to the basket, and then Reynolds more of a post.
Well, there's a connection between them, obviously, as sisters, and when you look at what they can do lengthwise and athletically, then you look at their ability to knock down the three-point shot, and that's the big concern, because you can set your defense to try to take away the drive or the shot from the well together. They look for each other. There's definitely a connection there. And then you throw in the Jones girl and the quickest player on the floor, who's going to be another D1 player for them. And then they just really have this three-headed monster that's very, very, it's very challenging for us matchup-wise. We're going to have to play with a lot of grit, but we're also going to have a pretty, we're going to have to play intelligently, and we're going to try to take away some things. I don't think we can take it all away. So it'll be tough, that's for sure.
Yeah, Rashunda Jones, another sophomore, is the player that you mentioned, another standout for South Bend, Washington. Coach, when it comes down to it tomorrow or Saturday at noon, I mean, what's it going to come down to? You know, an all-around type performance is what it takes to advance to the state championship.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more all around. I'll pinpoint. I'll go back to the offensive possession thing because, you know, our ability to execute on that end of the floor, I think, really sets us up pretty well in other areas of the game where it may not look very favorable for us. So kids are playing with a lot of confidence. I would continue to say to our team, the tougher team is going to win. You can say all the things you want about stats and you know, matchups and things like that. But the stuff that our kids have, that this group has this year, and their belief and their ability to play at a high level no matter who they've faced on their schedule, when you look back through the season, they've put together some pretty impressive performances, win or lose, against the highest level of competition that we've played. And I think if they go into Saturday with that belief in themselves, I think that, once again, we'll look back and say, we're not going to say at the end of the game, I wished we would have done this as a team. I think our team is playing at a really high level of toughness. And I think when you look at that word right there, I think that that's what we need to carry into Saturday. And this group can do it.
Coach, before we let you go, what's the crowd situation going to be like on Saturday? I know each semi-state location has their different guidelines due to which county they're in, but what can we expect at LaPorte?
You know, everything online ahead of time. As far as I've seen, I've not seen any limitations on that. So everything's pre-sale. And as far as I know, they're selling tickets. And so hopefully we take a great crowd over there. And, you know, it's been great to host the sectional and have a close regional to us where we've had a great fan following. And hopefully we can bring that following into LaPorte as well. But as far as I know, Justin, it's pretty wide open.
That's great to hear. Hopefully have a lot of people in attendance coming up on Saturday. Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck on Saturday. Norwell going for their first semi-state championship since 1977. Coach, congratulations on the regional championship. One more to go before you play for the big one. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks again, Justin.
That was Coach Eric Thornton of the Norwell Knights joining us here. His team will take on South Bend, Washington coming up on Saturday at 23-5 Norwell, 21-5 South Bend, Washington. Noon tip-off, our time, 11 a.m. Central Time, with LaPorte being in the Central Time Zone. It will be followed by the Carroll Chargers and Crown Point, 25-2 Carroll Chargers, 23-1 Crown Point. We'll talk to Coach Mark Redding of the Carroll Chargers about that matchup a little later in the show. That game will tip off at 4 o'clock. Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central Time. They will clear the arena. They will clean the arena, and then they will allow fans in for that second semi-state game. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to Chris Kohrman of the Homestead Media and WCYT. When we come back, we're going to break down this Carroll Homestead matchup coming up tomorrow night. You're listening to the High School Coaches Show on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
The Sports Rush with Brett Rump.
He's from 1075thefan.com. It is Kevin Bowen. I think we need to check phone records because I think there's a lot of conversations right now between Jim Irsay and Andrew Luck.
Every time you hear Jim Irsay talk about Andrew Luck, Brett, it certainly talks about someone that has thought about their ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife quite a bit lately.
The Sports Rush with Brett Rump. Listen every weekday at 4 on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan at 100.9 FM. Listen live at 1380thefan.com.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Any credit card can offer cash back, but only Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. It's like getting one of those birthday cards that's shaped like cash, so you already know there's cash inside before opening it. But in this case, it's stuffed with your first year cash back matched, and you don't even have to send a thank you note. Cash back match. Only by Discover Card. Learn more at discover.com/match. Discover. Something brighter.
Gibson's Heating and Plumbing is your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer that is ranked #1 out of nearly 300 dealers nationwide in customer satisfaction. Here's what Gibson's customers are saying.
I've used Gibson's once for heating and once for plumbing now. From the schedulers to the technicians, everyone has been professional, personable, and upfront with pricing and expectations. There is no sense of pressure, and they explain everything thoroughly. Absolutely have a loyal customer.
Your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Gibson'sHeating.com.
Now back to the High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to the High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kinney. He is John Graham producing. We're here until 7 o'clock talking area high school basketball, talking semi-state girls basketball coming up around the state of Indiana on Saturday, and also boys basketball, which will have its sectional draw coming up on Sunday. As I always like to say, 10 minutes of information crammed into 2 hours. So that will be coming up on Sunday. I want to say late afternoon, 5-ish o'clock, but check out ihsaa.org for that time, as we'll find out the sectional draws for all the teams in the state of Indiana. The tournament then will begin after next week. Not next week, but the week after will be the postseason for boys basketball. The week after we crown state champions in girls basketball. But before we get to this sectional draw coming up on Sunday, we have a huge matchup in the SAC coming up tomorrow night. It's undefeated Homestead taking on Carroll. It's 8-0 versus 8-0 in the SAC. Regular season championship on the line. And we're going to break it all down right now with Chris Kohrman of Homestead Media and WCYT. Chris, how you doing?
Good, Justin. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Oh, we're just living the dream over here, Chris. And I feel like it's been a dream for the Homestead boys basketball team. So many memories, making #1 on SportsCenter and breaking reigns with Andrew Leeper. And it's just been a storied year. Of course, the only undefeated team left in the state of Indiana. So your perspective on how this season has gone for the Homestead Spartans?
Of course, undefeated season. Got to be really happy with that. And it's not like Homestead's been shy of playing the easy teams. They're playing a lot of indie schools, played Hamilton Southeastern a couple weekends ago, and then had to play who was #1, Lawrence North. So it's not like this undefeated record isn't earned for Homestead. They definitely had to earn it with some really close games early on in the season.
Yeah, they definitely stepped out of the SAC to be challenged, and they've had to, because not anybody has been able to match up with them in the SAC. And when we look at this team, Chris, I think so much attention, and for good reason, goes to Fletcher Lawyer and Luke Goody, both D1 prospects and commitments. But I think it's really that supporting cast that is so important, similar to what it was when Caleb Swanigan and company went and won a state championship on the boys' side several years ago. So your thoughts on that supporting cast around those big two, so to speak, with Fletcher and Luke?
Yeah, Fletcher and Luke, they do a great job for this Homestead team. And then you look at the supporting cast like Grant Simmons. He brings a presence down low for this Homestead team. I know height and the bigs are kind of the question marks for this Homestead team, but Simmons does bring that. And then Leeper fills that role. And then Caleb Colpine, he just does a great job on defense. He always seems to be guarding the opponent's best player, so look for him to be guarding Jalen Jackson tomorrow night. But Caleb Colpine does a great job on defense, and he definitely just plays tough against those tough opponents. And we've seen some players that are always really good and put up high numbers not be able to put up, those big numbers against Homestead just based on, how good Caleb Colpine defends against them.
Chris, we talk so much about how good shooters that Luke and Fletch are. You mentioned Grant Simmons, and he's a kid that dropped 32 earlier in the season against North Central. He's a consistent double-digit scorer. He hits pretty solid from three-point range. He's almost automatic at the free throw line. He's shooting 67% inside the three-point arc. I mean, these are the type of players that help you win state titles. I think, Luke Goody and Fletcher Lawyer get you into that conversation, but it's the performances of these types of guys like the Grant Simmons that can put you over the top. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Grant Simmons and Leeper and Colpine, they all add that. Like you said, that's the type of player that can lead you to a state title, because coaches are always going to be looking at the Lawyer and the Goody for this Homestead team whenever, they go to scout Homestead. But Simmons, like you said, put up 32 points against North Central, and he does create a presence down low. So you can't forget about Grant Simmons, because if you do, he could be putting up double digits consistently already. So if you don't scout him, you definitely could create some trouble.
Chris, you mentioned the wins north. That was an overtime win in January, going down there and getting a victory. The last-second shot by Luke Goody to break a tie late at Hamilton Southeastern. Those were close games on the road against really stout competition. How does those games help, not just going into tomorrow night, but also the playoffs?
Well, no doubt anytime you face adversity in a game, it's going to boost your confidence. And, you know that these games coming up in the postseason, they're not all going to be blowouts, like some of these Homestead games have been this year. There's going to be some tight games, definitely in the regional. The regional's going to be tough, as long as Homestead gets there. That regional, one of the toughest in the state. So those games are going to be really close. And playing Lawrence North tight and playing Hamilton Southeastern tight on the road, not in your home building, that just adds to it, because you can win those close games on the road.
Chris Kohrman of Homestead Media and WCYT joining us here in the High School Coaches Show. All right, Chris, let's get your scouting report on the Carroll Chargers. 15-4. Most recent game was a 10-point loss to Carroll last weekend. They've had the last several days off to prepare for the Spartans. They get North Central at home on Saturday on that afternoon. But what have you seen out of the Carroll Chargers? What do the Homestead Spartans need to be prepared for?
Well, Carroll, they like to slow it down, that's for sure. They want to play the slow game, and they always find a way to get their three-point shooters open. They got Charlie Rudolph first off the bench. He always finds a way to be open there in the corner and hits a couple threes for Carroll. And then you got Jalen Jackson, who can just flat-out play basketball, averaging 20 points per game. But they like to slow it down. Homestead runs in the tempo, and Carroll's going to look to slow that down. There's no doubt about that. And then playing Carmel, that game was in the 40, which is where Carroll wants most of their games to be when they're playing those tough teams, and Sam Stricker stepped up and scored 16 in that game. So Carroll, they have 3 to 4 guys that can create a lot of opportunities on offense with a very slow offense that is very efficient.
What do you feel this game's going to come down to tomorrow night?
Well, I think Homestead, they could find themselves playing Carroll's tempo, which wouldn't be such a bad thing if Homestead has to play Carroll's tempo, because Carroll, there's no chance that they're going to want to run with Homestead. Carroll wants to see this game in the 40s, and Homestead wants this game to be in the 60s. So you got two teams looking at, two completely different visions for this game. But, if Homestead has to play Carroll's tempo, that really isn't the worst-case scenario. But if Carroll finds themselves playing Homestead style, that could be the worst-case scenario for Carroll in this game.
Chris, we talked, at the start of this segment about just how many exciting moments that Homestead has had this year. Many of them have come with little or no students in the stands. So how difficult has it been as a student and your friends and fellow students at Homestead to not be able to watch a lot of these games, or at least everybody be able to go?
Oh, yeah, I mean that's the hard part. I know from a student standpoint, everyone wants to be there. The student section and the fans, they definitely add to just the feel of the game. And, when we went down to Lawrence North and we left that game and said, what if there was 100% capacity at this game? You got the number 1 and the number 2 playing. That just would have made the game, the atmosphere even better than what it was. So there's a lot of missed opportunities, I think, with not having as many fans to see a packed house. Like it was 2 years ago at Carroll. When Homestead went to Carroll, it was a packed house. It sucks that we can't get that again at Carroll tomorrow night.
All right, Chris, before we let you go, you're a junior broadcaster at Homestead Media and WCYT. Who does Chris model his call after, or who do you kind of look to for guidance or kind of try to emulate?
All right, we've had a couple good broadcasters at Homestead. Austin Render is now down at IU. Definitely big ass inspiration from him. Matt Salfrank, the play-by-play, does a great job, and even Donnie Harmon last year. So it's a lot of the Homestead kids that have built their way into college now that did a great job for Homestead, that are kind of the ones that you look up to, and I go back and listen to sometimes, and take down the notes from them and try and work on my broadcasting standpoint from them.
All right, buddy. You do a great job. You and the whole crew over there. Adam Schenkel does a great job with you guys. Professional looking, professional sounding. Keep up the good work. I'm sure you guys will have a great call tomorrow.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate
All right, buddy. Take care. That was Chris Kohrman, the student broadcast team of Homestead Athletics, doing all the girls and boys basketball games, football as well. You can catch them on a stream. Their YouTube streams are amazing. I mean, when we're talking top level, top shelf production, John, I mean, it's legit. So check them out. Adam Schenkel does a great job over there at your alma mater, Homestead Spartans.
Yes, that's correct. I graduated from Homestead.
Shockingly.
Shockingly.
Shocking.
What are you trying to...
Just handing out degrees willy-nilly over there in the boy.
Are you trying to, put me down a peg?
Just if I got a degree, anybody can get a degree. Let me tell you that. So, like I tell people, don't listen to me, folks. Diploma's one thing. To a degree, I always tell people, the paper looks the same whether you got a 2.0 GPA or a 4.0 GPA in college, and that's what people say when they didn't have a good GPA in college. That was me. So a degree still
no
looks the
comment.
same.
I have no
bachelor's
comment.
degree is a bachelor's degree.
I have no comment on that. But yes, I participated in the WCYT
Did
program.
You? Excellent.
And look at me now.
Look at you now.
Look at me now. Like
producing a mediocre high school coaches show here. So definitely,
I wouldn't really call it mediocre.
The talent is on that side of the room for sure, and on that side of the phone. So thank you to Chris Kohrman for coming on. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. Mark Redding, Carroll Chargers, will join us a little bit later. We'll take a look at some of the sectionals coming up, with the draw coming up on Sunday. Maybe some intriguing storylines to watch with the draw. We'll go over that when we come back. It is the High School Coaches Show here on 1080 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
The first show of 2021 is here. The all-new All-American Outdoor Expo is a go. This is your chance to save thousands on RVs, boats, and power sports all under one roof. February 26th through 28th at the Fort Wayne Coliseum. Finally, an RV show at the Coliseum. The all-new All-American Outdoor Expo is back with the best deals on the latest camper, fifth wheels, motor coaches, and more, all under one roof in a clean, safe, and fun environment. February 26th through 28th at the Fort Wayne Coliseum. The first show of the year is here. The all-new All-American Outdoor Expo is a go, with everything outdoors on sale and on display in a safe, clean, and fun environment for the entire family. Visit FortWayneAllAmericanOutdoorExpo.com for tickets and details. Finally, a boat show at the Coliseum. The All-American Outdoor Expo is back with the best deals on the latest pontoons, fishing, and ski boats. There's nothing else like it in the tri-state area. Visit FortWayneAllAmericanOutdoorExpo.com for tickets and details.
You're planning on remodeling your bathroom. You want something personal and unique, and you want only the best quality products, which is why you're planning on ordering your shower door from the custom craftsmen of City Glass. But why stop there? Why not have the same professionals custom cut the just right mirror for your bathroom as well? There's no need to settle for anything off the shelf when the City Glass craftsmen can cut and design the perfect mirror for your bathroom. Don't worry about special sizing. They can custom size your mirror just as they would your shower door. And what about a unique look? Not a problem. For example, they can frame your mirror or even cut it so that your vanity lights can fit in the mirror rather than having to mount a separate fixture above the mirror. Maybe you don't need a new mirror at all and can just have an existing one recut or refurbished. Yeah, they can do that too. So do this for yourself. When you're ready to choose a shower door from City Glass, choose a mirror as well. City Glass, quality glass products, a cut above the rest.
Here's more from the High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to the High School Coaches Show here, where we learned something very interesting about John Graham during the break. DJ Grammy was your name, huh? At WCYT at Homestead?
Yep. DJ Grammy was my name at CYT.
So you were just playing music or what?
Yes, I was playing music. I didn't call the games or
nothing.
Or
you were
like
just nice. You were playing music.
Yes.
You were a DJ Grammy.
Yeah, and I had my fair share of different teachers throughout the years. John Zeider, who now does, I think, a time traveler show on another station.
Okay.
And I don't know where the 1 year guy went. And then
one and done, and then Adam.
The one and done, and then Adam Schenkel came. So
yeah. And he's done great. And, you can still book DJ Grammy, folks, for all your parties, weddings, receptions, whatever. Let us know. Contact us here at Federated Media. Book DJ Grammy now.
I do have my own DJ business. So,
See?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to turn the check down, folks.
Hit up that text line.
Yeah, 46862 to book DJ Grammy, or 447-8500. Just call us in. You can talk to DJ Grammy yourself. But we're going to talk to Mark Redding, Carroll Chargers, here in just a couple minutes. We'll break down his team's matchup with Crown Point coming up on Saturday at LaPorte. But one day after the semi-states for girls basketball, we'll have the sectional draw-off on the boys basketball side, and just a quick look at things, where they stand and who we feel could have an edge in some of the more interesting sectionals in the area. You look at the East Noble sectional, where Carroll resides, a perfect 5-0 against sectional foes in there, overall 15-4. But you have to look at two teams in particular, Snyder and Northside, both 9-9, both lost in very dramatic fashion to Carroll. Jalen Jackson hitting a bucket at the buzzer to beat Snyder, a game that Snyder, I want to say, led by about 14, 15 points in that game and let it away. And then Northside only losing by 3 to Carroll just recently in a game that was tied late before Carroll got an and one to get the victory. So while Carroll, you look at that and says, okay, that they could be that team, you also have to factor in, I think, Snyder and Northside. DeKalb in there. That's always scary if you're not overlooking. Northrop has a win over Northside earlier in the season. And an East Noble team that just seems to be pesky, that has 7 wins and is always in the mix. So while Carroll, I think you enter that sectional as the favorite, I think there's any team in there that could knock off another in that field. So that's going to be a very good sectional to watch. The Wayne sectional is the other 4A1. Of course, Homestead in there, 21-0. New Haven has been playing better basketball as of late, 12-5. But that was a 30 or 20-point game. No, 30-point game. I need to add. In mid-December, Homestead beat New Haven 86-56. I have a hard time seeing anybody really giving Homestead a game in this one. Huntington North at 9-6, maybe with the style they play. And that was a game played on December 1st between those two teams, and Homestead won by 14. Maybe, but it'd be a tremendous shock for anyone other than Homestead to win that sectional. Class 3A, I feel like there's some intrigue at Woodland, where that sectional site will be. Leo is the class of that sectional. Leo went out and lost to Bishop DeWenger last night. Bishop DeWenger also just happens to be in that sectional at 8-9. So I think if you had asked me yesterday at this time, I'm saying Leo and no one else in that sectional. Now, a little hesitant, because Bishop DeWenger, who was up big last night on Leo, by the way, the final score was not representative of just how lopsided that game was. DeWenger won 60-56. So Leo, all of a sudden, maybe a little troublesome. But we earlier talked to Coach Eric Thornton of the Norwell Knights, whose team Bishop Lures in the final week of the regular season, and then returned and beat them to open sectional play. So could this be the wake-up call that Leo needed and Kerry Cogdell to get that team back on track? I definitely feel that could be the case. But Leo looking like the favorite at Woodland, but definitely some intrigue added after last night's victory for Bishop DeWenger. Class 2A Westview is really the sectional that I feel could be really, really exciting based on the draw. Central Noble, Westview, Eastside, and Busco all have 14 or more victories. Central Noble at 17-1, Westview 15-4. Eastside has 13 wins, Cherubusco 14 wins. They've all been beating up on each other in the Northeast Corner Conference throughout most of the season, and they're all 4 in that sectional. The worst possible thing that could happen come Sunday is these 4 teams draw each other early in the week. Like if we have a situation where one plays Tuesday, one plays Wednesday, or both play Tuesday, something like that, that would be the worst. So hopefully they separate those teams. That would be a great Friday semifinal doubleheader to have those 4 teams facing off against each other. I think you throw that sectional up for grabs for any of those 4 teams. That will be a fascinating one to watch. The other 2A area sectional, Blackhawk Christian, the decided favorite. You look at Whitco with 11 wins, South Adams with 13 wins. Tough to see anybody matching up with Blackhawk Christian in that Bluffton sectional. Of course, Blackhawk Christian up to 2A due to success factor. That opens the door in Class 1A for someone to win the Bethany Christian sectional. Bethany Christian at 10-10, Lakewood Park at 6-11, Fremont at 7-10. Fremont may be that favorite in this one. They've really played a difficult schedule in the Northeast Corner Conference, taking their lumps. They pushed West Noble to the brink. They were competitive against Angola, good against a Heritage team that won the ACAC. So Fremont, with the first-year coach Josh Stuckey, could be that team to look towards in that Bethany Christian sectional. So that's just a 5-team sectional with the departure of Blackhawk Christian. So there's a quick look at the sectional fields. We'll have the draw coming up on Sunday. We'll break down some of the matchups next Thursday. Hopefully, we'll also be talking about a couple teams playing for state championships on the girls basketball side. We reviewed how it will look for Norwell going into Saturday with Coach Eric Thornton. After the break, we're going to talk to Coach Mark Redding of the Carroll Chargers. We'll look back at the regional championship, first since '98 for the Carroll Chargers, and look ahead to this semi-state challenge against the number 2 team in the state of Indiana, Crown Point, coming up at 4 o'clock on Saturday at LaPorte. We'll talk to Coach Redding after the break. You're listening to the High School Coaches Show, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
And we're racing at the Daytona Road Course.
Returns to the World Center of Racing.
Coming to the checkered flag, and it is not over yet.
NASCAR's top stars square off.
They make contact, and around goes Ryan.
For an epic battle on Daytona International Speedway's grueling 14-turn road course. It's the O'Reilly Auto Parts 253 at Daytona. On Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Here's Greg Thomas with your latest Mortgage Minute, where you can gain an edge on your next mortgage.
Here to talk about mattress money. You know, that stash of cash you don't want anybody to know exists. But one of those anyone's is an underwriter, and to them it doesn't exist. Any money you plan on using for real estate must be what we call sourced. Basically, where did it come from? And you have to be able to prove it. Cash in the bank or seasoned funds is money that has been in the bank for a minute. When we say a minute, it means for over 2 months. Of course, there are exceptions to this, like direct deposit, tax refunds, etc. This comes up all of the time. Please reach out to us directly to make sure your money is right before falling in love with your next home. We're here to help.
Contact Greg anytime for your purchase and financing needs at 260-234-4700 or at ccmindiana.com. Work with a lender you can trust to get your deal done. All loans subject to underwriting approval. Certain restrictions apply. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029. Greg Thomas, NMLS 138839. NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know ticks suck. But what you might not know is that they don't just suck blood way out in the woods. Those creepy little bugs can be anywhere, all year long. And I do mean little. They can be smaller than the head of a pin. But big trouble comes in these small, gross packages. Even a tiny tick can make you super sick. So what's the most important tip to avoid getting bit? Well, duh, pay attention. Remember, ticks can be just about anywhere outdoors. Then spray attention with an EPA-registered insect repellent. Wearing long socks and other protective clothing is a good idea too. When you come back inside, shower. And always remember, check for ticks everywhere. And if you do get a tick bite, don't panic. Tell an adult. And visit ticksuck.org to learn how to remove it properly. Ticks suck, but being outdoors shouldn't. Go to ticksuck.org for more information. Tick TickSuck.org.
George Faber here, owner of B Window. Are you a subcontractor and tired of dealing with taxes, regulations, and going to the dump? Why not call us and let us show you how, as an employee, you can have your own new truck, trailer, and gas and make $100,000 a year like many of our guys do now. We work our crews every day and have a huge backlog for the winter. Call right now, 317-283-8522, or go to bwindow.com.
That's Faber's B-Window. Trust me. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know ticks suck. But what you might not know is that they don't just suck blood way out in the woods. Those creepy little bugs can be anywhere, all year long. And I do mean little. They can be smaller than the head of a pin. But big trouble comes in these small, gross packages. Important tip to avoid getting bit? Well, pay attention. Remember, ticks can be just about anywhere outdoors. Then, spray attention with an EPA-registered insect repellent. Wearing long socks and other protective clothing is a good idea, too. When you come back inside, shower. And always remember, check for ticks everywhere. And if you do get a tick bite, don't panic. Tell an adult. And visit ticksuck.org to learn how to remove it properly. Ticks suck, but being outdoors shouldn't. Go to ticksuck.org for more information. Ticksuck.org.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Now back to the High School Coaches Show on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back here for the final time here on the High School Coaches Show, here for about 10 or 15 minutes longer. We'll then give way to college basketball coming up at the top of the hour. It is Iowa and Wisconsin, 7 o'clock tip-off right after us. You can catch Big Ten basketball. Coming up tomorrow night, it will be boys basketball from the Carroll Field House. Caleb Hatch will bring you all the action of the Homestead Spartans and Carroll Chargers. About a 7:30, 7:45 tip-off approximately out at the Field House. The SAC regular season championship on the line, 8-0 versus 8-0 in the conference. And, of course, Homestead, the lone undefeated team left in the state of Indiana. You can also hear the Fort Wayne Comets tomorrow night on WoWo in their home opener against Wheeling, 8 o'clock. So a lot to listen to over the next couple of days. And, of course, we will have here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM broadcast of both semi-states at LaPorte on Saturday, Norwell and South Bend, Washington at noon, followed by Carroll and Crown Point at 4 o'clock. Let's get a little more on that second game with the Carroll Chargers and Crown Point coming up on Saturday. Head coach of the Carroll Chargers is Mark Redding. Joins us right now. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well, Justin. How are you?
Well, doing pretty good here, Coach. Congratulations. Regional championship, first in 22 years for the program. And, you know, the regional Saturday is always fascinating, you know, with those semifinals, not just who wins, but how they win and how much energy is expended and all that. And I felt, you guys were able to get ahead early against McCutcheon. Did that help at least save some of the legs for the night? Because I think that could help, but also the length of your bench is always an advantage because you can always keep the girls fresh during the course of the game as well.
Yeah, the key for the first game was just to get players into the groove of playing in a regional. And in the first game, we got everybody in, and that helped us for, the second game because, they've been in that situation. So, yeah, the depth of the bench was particularly important, particularly getting players in and getting them comfortable.
And then being able to beat Homestead in a game that they never led, but you guys were never comfortable in that one. That was just a crazy second half in particular. Homestead making a run, you guys responded. Just the moxie that your team showed. Every time Homestead had a challenge, you guys were able to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you a lot about what Rod has done with his girls, because as the year went on, they got so much better. And, Patterson was just an All-American. I mean, we did not have an answer for her. She would basically go out and do whatever it's going to take to win. And fortunately, we had girls who hit some key threes for us. Delane hit one, and then the Jacksons hit a couple, and kept us with the lead. And then Lexi was able to get a couple and ones and extend the lead, and we were fortunate. Because the Homestead was really playing very well, and we were just fortunate to get by and win this.
Yeah, you mentioned some names there. Lexi Castator getting to the bucket back-to-back and ones with the game on the line. Delane hit a big shot for you, a senior that not many people talk about. The Jackson girls came up with big shots, also hit some big free throws down the stretch as well. While it was a lot of Ayanna Patterson on one end, it was a lot of team basketball on the end for you guys.
And that's what makes it so special of coaching this group, because they are a team, and everyone, you just don't know whose day it's going to be. But, for them, it doesn't matter whose day it is. It's about, winning. And they're all excited for one another. So that's what makes this team so good, is because every one of those girls could have one of those nights, and there's times where we have girls who are not playing so well, but we got somebody else to come in and pick them up, and so it's nice to have that, and it takes a lot of pressure off you.
Coach, I want to ask you about Emily Parrott, and she's kind of that steadying force with you. And you have so much youth on your team, and Emily's one of the few seniors along with Delane. But for the last 3 years, she's seen the season end in the regional round, and to be able to get over that hump, and I know it means a lot for everybody on that team, but Emily in particular, as a senior, finally getting that regional trophy and moving on, had to mean a lot to her.
There's no question about it. That's the reason why we're in the position we are, because of her leadership. I mean, Emily played for me when she was a freshman, so she knows what it's like to play with a bunch of seniors and being the lone underclassman. And so with that experience, she's really helped a young underclassmen and help them through some of these difficult times, and be an encourager and also be a critic about what they need to get done. And I've always said this, she's like a coach on the floor for me. And so she, when I get done with timeouts and talk to the team, she's out there talking to them and giving them more advice. So her leadership is a big reason we're in the position we're in right now.
All right, Coach, let's talk about Saturday. You get the Crown Point Bulldogs. They're 23-1, lone loss to Silver Creek. Silver Creek also playing for a berth in the state championship game this Saturday in Class 2A. Something that jumps out to me, and it was really similar to when I was looking at South Bend, Washington for Norwell's matchup, is how stingy Crown Point's defense can be, averaging defensively, allowing just over 36 points per game. What makes them so difficult to put the ball in the hoop against?
Well, it's funny, Justin, because if you watch them on tape, you would look at them, the way we play is the same way they play. So it's a similar style that we're both familiar with. They put pressure on the ball, they press, they want to full court, they want to deny the passing lane. They want you to make tough shots, and they don't want you to get into your sets. So we try to do the same thing. So it's, like I told the girls, they're going to play the same style that we play. It's just going to come down who's going to be efficient on the offensive end and who's going to be able to rebound.
And it has to help in preparing for this game, saying, okay, how we play, that's exactly what you're going to face on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's no different because, you play a Southside, you play a Snyder, and they do the similar things. And so these type of games prepare you for what we're going to be facing on Saturday. So having played those type of teams, and particularly in your conference, it helps because we've been there and done that before, and we face this type of pressure. We face this type of athletic ability and speed. So it makes it easier for us to be prepared knowing that we've done that before.
Coach, looking at a couple members of their team, Jessica Carruthers averages over 23 points per game. She's also their primary ball handler in the backcourt. They're also over 4 steals per game. And then you add a Lily Stoddard, maybe their top post player, averaging close to a double-double, almost 2.5 blocks per game. A couple of juniors that are ultra-talented. What is it going to take to limit those girls?
Well, the thing is you go into a game and you just know you're not going to shut them down. The thing you're going to do is just limit them to opportunities. Just make sure they just don't have career highs against you. Make sure that the role players don't have career highs and you forget about them. The thing is sometimes when you have 2 players like them, you focus on them, and then the other 3 players come back and hurt you. So really, we have to look at all 5 of them because they're all 5 capable of hurting you if you do not pay attention to them. So for us, we just got to do what we've been doing on defense, and just hopefully that on offense we can execute.
Coach, you mentioned, that first regional game, really able to get the girls used to playing at the regional level. Don't get that game on Saturday, right? You're going right into it in a semi-state atmosphere. Crown Point, while they didn't get to semi-state last year, they finished with just 1 loss last year. They got to the semi-state the year before, just 1 loss that year. You could say maybe they're a little bit more seasoned in the big moments, but also they're kind of young with your girls as well. So what's it going to take to hit the ground running and be ready to play come tip-off at 4 o'clock?
Well, the good thing about regionals is that you have to prepare for 3 teams. Here in the semi-state, you prepare for 1 team. And so they're not burdened with a bunch of information. They can focus on the 1 team, and I think that's going to help. The experience makes a huge difference when it comes to tournament play. And, last year when we got beat by Homestead, we learned something from that, and we got better. So this is going to be a first for the girls, but I think they're up to it because, this group, they just want to play and they want to show people how good they are. And that's a great thing about this group. They just have a lot of confidence.
Coach, we started this season in November. Who knows if we were going to get it all the season in. We all battled quarantine here and losing players and losing games. But what's this experience been for you? You've been around the block a couple times preparing for a semi-state with all the challenges we've had. Just how special has it been with this group?
Well, it's very special because when you have a group like this, when we went into sectionals, it was very important for us to win sectionals because, our record, we've only lost 2. But if you don't win the sectionals, that record means nothing. Your season doesn't mean anything. So by winning sectionals and then adding to a regional, that makes a huge difference for this team. But, we started out this season, and that's what we're talking about, is this team is good enough to get to state. And so far we're on that path, but again, we got to go through a tough Crown Point team to accomplish that.
All right, Coach. Hey, I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot for spending some time with us. Good luck on Saturday, 4 o'clock tip. 1 more to go before you play for the big trophy, Coach. Good luck.
Well, thanks, Justin. I appreciate it.
That was Coach Mark Redding, Carroll Chargers. His team 25-2 will take on Crown Point. The Bulldogs at 23-1, ranked the second number 2 team in the entire state of Indiana. Crown Point, the 3rd straight year they've had just a single loss over the season. They will look to try to advance to their first semi-state championship or first state championship game in quite a while. Meanwhile, the Carroll Chargers, a lot on the line. Of course, last week won their first regional title in 22 years. They will look to advance to their first ever state championship appearance with a win on Saturday. That's going to do it for us. Thank you to Coach Mark Redding. Thank you to Chris Kohrman of Homestead Media and WCYT for joining us to break down that big Homestead and Carroll matchup coming up tomorrow night. Eric Thornton, Norwell Knights, kicked it off at the top of the show to talk about his team's matchup with South Bend, Washington. That's going to do it for us. Plenty of basketball coming up in the next couple days at the prep level here on 1380 The Fan. Homestead Carroll tomorrow night with Caleb Hatch. Michael McIntyre will bring you all of the semi-state action on Saturday afternoon from LaPorte. And we'll be back here next Thursday to break it all down on the High School Coaches Show. That's it for us. Iowa and Wisconsin coming up after the commercial break. Big Ten basketball coming at you. For John Graham, I'm Justin Kenny. This has been the High School Coaches Show, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Thanks for listening to this exclusive presentation of 1380 The Fan, the high school coaches show with Justin Kenny on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Download the podcast at 1380thefan.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Podcasts by Federated Media. Podcasts by Federated Media.